Have you ever found yourself completely puzzled by a man's behavior? One day he's texting you constantly, making you laugh, and seems genuinely interested in everything you have to say. The next day, he pulls back a little, leaving you wondering if you imagined the whole connection. Or maybe there's a guy in your life who goes out of his way to help you with everything, remembers every detail about your conversations, and seems to light up whenever you're around, but he's never actually told you how he feels. Today, we're going on a deep dive into the male psyche to uncover 5 psychological tricks that men unconsciously use when they're secretly obsessed with you. I want to be clear here, these aren't manipulative tactics or games they're playing. These are hardwired psychological responses that happen automatically when a man's feelings run deeper than he might even realize himself. Think of them as his subconscious mind's way of trying to build a connection, test compatibility, and create intimacy without having to risk the vulnerability of direct emotional expression. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete understanding of these psychological patterns. You'll be able to look at the men in your life with fresh eyes and decode behaviors that might have seemed confusing before. More importantly, you'll understand the deeper psychology behind why men act the way they do when they're falling hard for someone. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and let's unlock the mystery of male psychology together. Trust me, what you're about to learn will change the way you see romantic interactions forever. TRISK number 1, THE-MYRREFST. The first psychological trick we need to discuss is something called mirroring, and it's honestly one of the most powerful and reliable indicators of deep attraction that exists in human psychology. When a man is secretly crazy about you, his brain starts doing something absolutely fascinating. It begins unconsciously copying your body language, speech patterns, energy levels, and even your preferences. This isn't something he's doing intentionally or strategically. In fact, most men have no idea they're doing it at all. It's his subconscious mind's way of creating a deeper psychological bond and establishing what psychologists call or rapport with you. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. You might notice that when you're sitting together and you cross your legs, he crosses his legs a few seconds later. When you lean forward during an interesting part of the conversation, he mirrors that movement. If you tend to use your hands a lot when you talk, he might start incorporating more hand gestures into his own communication style when he's around you. This physical mirroring is his body's way of saying, I'm in sync with you, we're connected, we belong together, without his conscious mind even being aware of the message he's sending. But the mirroring goes so much deeper than just physical movements. You might start noticing that he picks up phrases you use regularly and begins incorporating them into his everyday vocabulary. If you have a particular way of expressing excitement or frustration, he might start using similar expressions. He could begin adopting your sense of humor, laughing at the same types of things you find funny, or even developing similar opinions about topics you've discussed together. This linguistic mirroring is incredibly significant because language is such a personal part of who we are. The mirroring effect extends to lifestyle choices and preferences too. Maybe you mention that you love a particular type of coffee, and suddenly he's ordering the same drink. You talk about a hobby you're passionate about, and he develops a genuine interest in learning more about it. You mention a restaurant you want to try, and it becomes his suggestion for your next outing together. This isn't about him losing his own identity. It's about his psychology trying to create common ground and shared experiences that will bring you closer together. Tiraike number 2, the prov insi overdrive. The second psychological trick is absolutely fascinating and deeply rooted in evolutionary biology. When a man is secretly crazy about you, his protective instincts don't just activate, they go into complete overdrive. This is hardwired into male psychology at the most fundamental level. Throughout human evolution, men who successfully protected the women they cared about were more likely to have successful relationships and pass on their genes. So, when a modern man's feelings for you become serious, these ancient protective circuits in his brain light up like a Christmas tree. Now, this protective behavior manifests in countless ways, both obvious and subtle. On the more obvious side, you'll notice things like him always insisting on walking on the side of the sidewalk closest to traffic. He'll want to carry anything heavy for you, even if you're perfectly capable of handling it yourself. When you're out together, he becomes hyper aware of your surroundings and other people's behavior toward you. He might position himself between you and crowds, or he'll make sure you get to your car safely after dark. These aren't just polite gestures, they're psychological compulsions driven by his deep feelings for you. But the protective instinct goes far beyond physical safety. He starts protecting your emotional well-being with the same intensity. He remembers details about your schedule and checks in when he knows you have something stressful happening, a big presentation at work, a difficult family situation, or even just a busy week. He genuinely worries about your happiness and comfort in ways that go far beyond normal friendship or casual interest. If you mention not feeling well, he might show up with soup or medicine without being asked. If you're having a bad day, he becomes genuinely distressed and wants to do whatever he can to make it better. This emotional protection extends to how he responds to other people's treatment of you. If someone criticizes you, even in what seems like harmless teasing, you might notice his jaw tighten or his demeanor shift. He becomes defensive of you in ways that might even surprise him. He can't stand the thought of anyone making you feel bad, and he'll go out of his way to make sure you feel valued and appreciated, especially if someone else has made you question your worth. The intensity of these protective behaviors is directly proportional to how deeply he cares about you. When you understand that his need to protect you isn't about thinking you're weak or incapable, but rather about how precious you've become to him, it completely changes how you interpret these actions. TRICK number 3, THE, ATITA NTI, O, AMPR, IKTON. Again, now we come to one of the most psychologically complex behaviors that men display when they're secretly crazy about someone, the attention amplification game. This is where male psychology gets really interesting and, frankly, a bit confusing for women who don't understand what's happening beneath the surface. When a man has deep feelings for you, he'll give you a level of attention that's absolutely extraordinary. But here's where it gets psychologically fascinating. He'll also periodically pull back to gauge your response. This isn't manipulation or game, playing in the traditional sense. It's his subconscious mind running a complex psychological test to understand the depth of your interest and the security of the connection. Let me break down what this looks like in practical terms. During the high attention phases, he'll hang on your every word during conversations like you're the most fascinating person he's ever encountered. He remembers incredibly tiny details you mentioned weeks or even months ago, things that most people would forget immediately. He always seems to have time for you, no matter how packed his schedule is. His phone is practically glued to his hand when you text, and he responds quickly and thoughtfully. He asks follow-up questions about things happening in your life, remembers your appointments, your concerns, your excitement about upcoming events. But then, seemingly out of nowhere, he might become slightly less available. His responses might take a little longer, or he might not initiate contact as frequently. He's not disappearing completely or being rude. He's just scaling back the intensity level. This behavior often sends women into a panic, thinking they've done something wrong or that he's lost interest. But understanding the psychology behind this changes everything. What's actually happening is that his subconscious mind is running a compatibility and interest assessment. He's thinking, I've been giving this person an enormous amount of attention and emotional energy. How do they respond when I pull back slightly? Do they chase me desperately, indicating potential neediness? Do they not notice at all, suggesting maybe they don't value the connection? Or do they respond in a balanced way that shows they appreciate the attention but aren't dependent on it? This psychological testing happens because when a man's feelings are genuinely deep, the stakes feel incredibly high to him. He's not just trying to have fun or pass time, he's evaluating long-term compatibility. His subconscious mind needs to understand whether you value the connection as much as he does, whether you're emotionally stable enough to handle the natural ebb and flow of relationships, and whether you're genuinely interested in him as a person or just enjoying the attention he provides. T Rice K, number 4THE Future PROJ2IL PNAMA. The fourth psychological trick is something I call the future projection phenomenon. And it's one of the most revealing indicators of deep male attraction. When a man is secretly crazy about you, something remarkable happens in his mind. He starts unconsciously weaving you into the fabric of his future. This isn't about him making grand declarations or asking you to move in together. It's much more subtle and psychologically significant than that. His brain begins automatically including you in his long-term mental planning. And this shows up in dozens of small ways that might seem insignificant on the surface, but are actually profound psychological indicators. This future projection starts very subtly. You might notice him mentioning events that are happening months from now and casually assuming you'll be there. Instead of saying, if you want to come to my company barbecue this summer, he might say, I think you'll really like the people at my company barbecue. Instead of, would you be interested in seeing that band when they come sale? We definitely get tickets when they go on sale. The shift from conditional language to assumptive language is his subconscious mind revealing that he's already integrated you into his future life. He might start talking about his career goals, travel dreams, or life plans in a way that seems to naturally include space for you. You'll hear him mention wanting to show you places that are meaningful to him, his hometown, his favorite vacation spot, a restaurant he's been wanting to try. He talks about his family in a way that suggests he wants you to be part of that world, maybe mentioning how much his sister would like you or how his parents are always asking about his dating life. The psychological significance of this behavior cannot be overstated. When a man's brain starts automatically including you in future planning, it means his subconscious has already made a determination about your importance in his life. He's not just thinking about you as someone fun to spend time with right now, he's evaluating you as a potential life partner, even if he hasn't consciously acknowledged these feelings yet. You might also notice him paying attention to your future goals and dreams in a way that suggests he wants to be supportive of them. He remembers your career aspirations and asks thoughtful questions about your progress. He celebrates your achievements as if they're partially his achievements too. This isn't about him trying to insert himself into your life inappropriately. It's about his psychology recognizing that your success and happiness have become important to his own sense of fulfillment. The timeline aspect is particularly telling. If he's making references to things happening 6 months, a year, or even further into the future with the assumption that you'll be part of his life, his feelings for you are definitely more than casual. Men don't typically invest mental energy in long-term planning around someone unless they're genuinely hoping for a serious relationship. Trike number 5 THEJLOUSY RVL, the final psychological trick we need to discuss is perhaps the most controversial and misunderstood, the jealousy reveal. I want to be very clear from the start that we're not talking about possessive, controlling, or unhealthy jealousy behaviors. Those are red flags that indicate serious problems. What we're examining here is the subtle, often carefully concealed jealousy that emerges when a man's feelings for you are genuinely deep and he's trying to process the psychological discomfort that comes with caring so much about someone. When a man is secretly crazy about you, the thought of losing you to someone else creates genuine psychological distress. This isn't about him not trusting you or wanting to control who you spend time with. It's about the fact that you've become so important to his emotional well, being that the possibility of you choosing someone else over him feels genuinely threatening to his happiness and future plans. This jealousy typically manifests in very subtle ways that he tries desperately to hide or disguise as casual interest. You might notice him asking seemingly innocent questions about other men in your life. So how long have you known Jake from work? Or that guy from your gym seems pretty friendly. Have you known him long? These questions often come up naturally in conversation, but there's an underlying need to understand the nature of your relationships with other men and assess whether any of them might be romantic competition. His mood might shift slightly when you mention spending time with male friends, colleagues, or acquaintances. He might become a little quieter, or conversely, he might become more talkative and try to steer the conversation in a different direction. You might notice him paying extra attention to your social media activity, particularly any interactions you have with other men, not in a stalking way, but in a I care so much about this person that I notice everything about their life way. What's psychologically fascinating is how he tries to manage and hide these jealous feelings because he knows they're not entirely rational. He might make self-deprecating comments about being silly, for caring about who you spend time with, or he might overcompensate by being extra encouraging about your friendships with other men to prove that he's not jealous at all. The key psychological insight here is that this type of jealousy only emerges when someone has become genuinely important to a man's emotional world. Casual dating partners don't generate this level of psychological investment. When a man starts feeling jealous about your interactions with other men, it's because his brain has categorized you as someone he could potentially lose, and that possibility feels genuinely painful to him. This jealousy often comes with an increased desire to spend time with you, to deepen your connection, and to make sure you understand how much you mean to him. He might become more expressive about his feeling, more attentive to your needs, or more invested in creating special moments between you. His jealousy is actually motivating him to be a better partner and to strengthen your bond. The intensity and frequency of these jealous moments often correlate directly with the depth of his feelings. If you notice that he seems particularly affected by your interactions with other men, it's a strong indicator that his emotions for you have moved far beyond casual interest into genuine attachment and love. We delved into the attention amplification game, that complex psychological dance where he gives you extraordinary attention and then occasionally pulls back to test the strength and security of your connection. Understanding this pattern helps you see that the pull back moments aren't rejections, they're actually indicators of how much the relationship means to him. The future projection phenomenon showed us how his brain begins automatically including you in his long-term planning and decision-making. When a man starts assuming you'll be part of his future without explicitly asking, his subconscious has already made some pretty significant decisions about your importance in his life. We examined the vulnerability paradox, where he simultaneously tries to be your hero while also trusting you with his most authentic, vulnerable self. This complex balance between strength and openness is one of the most beautiful aspects of deep male attraction. Finally, we discussed the jealousy reveal, where his deep feelings create psychological discomfort at the thought of losing you to someone else. When understood properly, these subtle jealous behaviors are actually indicators of how precious you've become to his emotional world. If you've recognized several of these signs in someone special in your life, there's a very good chance that his feelings for you run much deeper than he's letting on. The question now becomes, what are you going to do with this knowledge? How will understanding his psychology change the way you interact with him, communicate with him, and build your relationship together? Remember that recognizing these signs is just the beginning. The most beautiful relationships happen when both people feel safe enough to be authentic, vulnerable, and direct about their feelings. If you're seeing these psychological indicators and you're interested in exploring a deeper connection, consider creating opportunities for more open, honest communication about where you both see the relationship going. Did this deep dive into male psychology help you understand the men in your life better? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you noticed any of these psychological patterns in your own relationships? Which of these signs surprised you the most? And if this video helped clarify some confusing behaviors you've been trying to decode, please let me know. Your feedback helps me create content that truly serves you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insights into the fascinating world of human psychology and relationships. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest discoveries about love, attraction, and the complex but beautiful ways that people connect with each other. Until next time, keep reading those psychological signals, trust your intuition, and remember that the deepest feelings are often the ones that are expressed not through words, but through the countless small actions that reveal what's really in someone's heart.